Awesome. Yeah, I want to tell you a bit about my life, basically. But before I do that, maybe we can watch a small video about my company, Ecosia, which I think should be starting now.
Into this. Or this. Into this. For free, by doing something you do several times a day already. With Ecosia, you can. Let me show you how. We've spent the last decade building a search engine called Ecosia. Like other search engines, we display ads alongside your search results. And when you click on them, we get paid. But instead of wasting this money on building a private airport or finding new creative ways to avoid taxes, we use it to protect the future of our planet. So we start by covering our costs. This includes things like improving the search results, paying our rent, and paying me to do this voiceover. Everything else, so all of Ecosia's profits, go towards climate action. We invest 20% in renewable energy, regenerative agriculture, and grassroots activism. And then the remaining 80% goes towards planting and protecting trees around the world. So that's us. By using our profits for the planet instead of ourselves, we've been able to plant over 100 million trees and counting. And our little search engine now serves millions of people from almost every country in the world every day. But that's not the only thing that makes us teeny tiny bit different. To help you make better decisions, we've added a little green leaf next to planet-friendly organizations. And a shady little coal icon next to the world's most diabolical companies. Oh, and speaking of good decisions, we've also built our own solar panels. That way we're not just producing enough renewable energy to power all of your searches, we're producing twice as much. Being 200% renewable means that every Ecosia search is crowding dirty energy out of the grid. So no matter what you're searching for, you are fighting climate change by removing CO2 from the air. Oh, you want more? A few years ago, Ecosia's founder Christian signed an irreversible contract that requires us to stay true to our purpose. So there's no way for us ever to sell Ecosia or take money out of the company. And for all you lovely super nerds, we publish monthly financial reports that tell you exactly how much money we made from your searches and how we spent it. And one last thing, we're also one of the most privacy-friendly search engines out there. Seriously, we're in it for the trees, not your data. Our trees suck thousands of tons of CO2 out of the air every day. While they're at it, they protect wildlife and support farmers who are dealing with ever warmer and ever drier climates. But what does planting millions of trees actually look like? So first we figured out where are these trees needed most. That led us to focus on vulnerable biodiversity hotspots, bird migration routes, and environmental crisis zones. Then, our tree planting experts sought out amazing local partners who do the hard work of growing and nurturing and planting the trees in these areas. Once they're in the ground, we continue to work with these partners using satellite tech and field visits to ensure that the trees survive. And finally, to bring you all along on this little adventure, we publish updates about our projects almost every day. We tell you about our planting methods, about why we steer clear of monocultures, about why it's important to work with local communities, about climate justice, activism, and so much more. So now you know how to turn this into this. You know how to support people like Naliaka Martin in her mission to plant trees to protect her village's source of drinking water. You know how to grow a new, enduring habitat for Pesek, whose forest was destroyed by the palm oil industry. You know how to take care of our planet. It's easy to make the switch. Go get started at ecosia.org. So go ahead, give our planet a big hug. She deserves it.
All right, so yeah, I want to tell you a bit more about what exactly we're doing, so I hope you found this video interesting. So basically, in a nutshell, Ecosia is a search engine that plants trees. But how exactly does this work? So it works like a normal search engine. You type in your search terms, and when you hit the search button, you get your search results. Like all other search engines, we're using the profits that we're generating from our advertisements. We're using those to basically make money, but the big difference is that we use this money not to finance, I don't know, self-driving cars or buy a fancy yacht, but instead of that, we're using the money to plant trees around the world. And this is the reason why we're planting trees is because we think that by planting trees, we can solve the world's biggest problems. So not only can we turn a very degraded landscape like this one into a healthy forest again, but we can also help people to actually build a better future for themselves. So we're often operating in developing countries where people basically don't have any opportunities at all for themselves. There are problems with food supply, for example, and by planting trees, you can really start a positive cycle. So people can make their land fertile again. You even increase the rainfall on the land, and people, of course, also make money from the trees. So they can harvest fruits, they can harvest nuts, for example, and eventually can send their children to school. So all those kind of things are happening because we're planting trees, and that's why I personally think that trees are the most amazing thing on this planet. And I could talk about trees for 1 hour, but I'm going to spare you that. But yeah, if you just take this away from the presentation that trees are awesome and that we should plant a lot, then I'm already happy. But trees are, of course, also really good at taking CO2 out of the atmosphere. Actually, they are the most effective way of doing that, the most cost-effective, definitely. We have, on our planet, we have space for around 1 trillion trees that we can plant. And those trees, if we plant them, we would not have to take away other land. It's just degraded land that we can replant and then basically make fertile again. So here you can see all the green areas that we have. Here are areas where trees can and should be planted. You see in Portugal, there's also some space for tree planting. And if we do that as a global community, we not only to a large extent solve climate change, but we also solve the food crisis, we solve the biodiversity crisis, we solve the water crisis, we solve poverty, maybe not completely, but really, really have a big impact on that. So tree planting really is, in my opinion, one of the easiest things that we can do at the moment to solve many of our problems. But to quickly stop about talking about trees and talk a bit more about what we're doing as a company. So just a quick overview on who we are in numbers. So Ecosia currently makes around 25 million in revenue and has 15 million active users. We are actually one of the 400 biggest websites on this planet, and we're actually even Europe's biggest search engine. That sounds very fancy, but of course Google is much, much bigger. So we have around 1% market share in Europe. In Portugal, not so much, but maybe that's going to change today. Yeah, we're doing that with a pretty small team of only 95 people. So Google has more than 100,000 people, and yeah, we're I think doing a pretty good job with very few resources. Our company is growing. We had over 30% growth last year, but our main metric, and that is actually the number that everybody at our company is excited, is the number of trees that we planted. And so far, we have already planted over 145 million trees. And that is a lot, and that is, whenever I'm frustrated, if you go to the Ecosia website, you're just going to see that tree counter ticking up all the time. So if you are frustrated by what's going on at the moment, then I just recommend go to our website and look at this number going up a little bit. So this is what's getting us excited. I think in many ways, Ecosia is a normal startup, at least for Berlin terms. So we're based in Berlin, Germany. So you have the typical Berlin startup kind of office vibe with probably similar to here with kind of old industrial buildings that we're in. Very, very nice team. Also those kind of black screens, matrix screens with code on it, which probably you know better than I do. So all of that is, I would say, pretty normal, but there's one big difference if you compare us to many other startups. And that is that we're not for sale. So I think it was briefly mentioned in the video. Me and my business partner, Tim, a few years ago, we actually made a commitment, a legally binding commitment, that we will never sell Ecosia and that we will never take any profits out of the company. And the reason for that was that we just wanted to make sure that the core purpose of Ecosia, which is planting trees, will always be protected. And we also wanted to make sure that Ecosia will stay independent forever and that not one of our big competitors, Google or Microsoft, could just come and buy the company. So this was super important for us, and this is something that is, I think, really different from many other companies. In many startups, I don't know if anybody of you has already. Who's actually working already, or are you all still studying? If you're working already in a company, could you raise your hands? Nobody. Okay, cool. Then I can tell you how it's going to be like. So I think what a lot of people experience as a frustration when they're at a company is, so they're giving all this energy when you're building up, especially when you're building up a startup, you're investing all this energy, you're building something great together, and then at some point, either an investor comes in and tells you to do something very different that you don't actually want, or your company gets sold to another company, and then also things change a lot. And we wanted to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I think, especially if you look at the Berlin startups ecosystem, but I think here in Lisbon it's probably similar, there are quite a few people who have experienced that one or two times, that some investor came in or the company got bored, and then basically the entire company culture just disappeared and people got frustrated. So we want to make sure that this doesn't happen, and that creates a very, very different working environment at our company. And not only that, but also because people know that they're not working for me or the shareholders, but they're actually working for the purpose. There's a lot more authentic motivation, I would say. So people know that they're really working for tree planting. They're not working for Christian, so that Christian buy a fancy car or something like that, which is, I think, a fundamental difference. And I personally would never work at another company or a company that doesn't have that as a principle. I think overall at Ecosia, everything is going great. Our company is growing. We're making a lot of money for tree planting, and we're all happy. But there is, on a global level, not everything is going great. So maybe who of you knows this picture or knows what it means? Yes, please. That's the global temperature, yeah. And this is actually, so I'm generally a very optimistic person. I don't worry about many things. But this is one of the pictures that really freak me out, that really give me nightmares. If you translate that into more number-based visualization, then this is the global temperature rise that we already are seeing now. And I think many of you probably know that this is going to keep rising to probably more than 2 degrees, maybe even 2.5 degrees. And I think at least a few years ago, there was still this perception that we have what we call global warming, and things are just going to get a little bit more warm here and there. Maybe you have a few changes in rainfall, but overall, things are just going to be fine. And you probably know that, but there are a lot of people who don't. Global warming is not just a little problem. It is the biggest crisis that humanity has ever faced. And we're currently still on a trajectory where we're going to 3-4 degrees temperature rise until the end of the century. And if we reach those points, then it might very well be that we can only provide for 25% of the current population. That means that 75% of the current population would not have resources anymore. And I don't want to be in a world where this is happening. I think we've seen World War II, which was dramatic. We've seen other wars, but there's a lot more to come. And if we don't fix this problem now, this will be could potentially be the end of humanity. And sorry, that's very depressing. There's still hope, so don't worry. But I think this, when I was studying, maybe your age, for some reason nobody told me about this. Nobody told me that basically we're all doomed. And I had to find that out myself. I spent some time researching after I finished university, and I just wondered, why is nobody really talking about this? Why are we not really acting like this is a big problem? And that I often, still in society, I see way too little emphasis be put on that. So of course, at least 1 or 2 years ago, people started going more and more to the streets. I don't know, you probably also had the big climate movements here in Portugal, I assume. And this finally gave me hope, so I started Ecosia in 2009, so more than 12 years ago. And for the first 9-10 years, I was wondering, why is nobody talking about this? Why are we not doing anything about this? And fortunately, 1-2 years ago, or 3 years ago, people finally started going to the street and protesting, especially the young people. And that finally gave me hope, where I felt like, oh, now we can hopefully do something. Then COVID came, now the Ukraine crisis is coming, so things are getting delayed more and more. But we have to make that a priority. And by we, I mean everyone, not only just a few people who work, I don't know, in the area of climate, or people who work in the climate Ministry of Environment or something like that. No, this is a problem that really concerns all of us. And we need to fix that. And I think also one thing that is important, there are a lot of companies now that say, yeah, but we're CO2 neutral. That is not enough. The being CO2 neutral is maybe the minimum that a company can do. So there are so many pledges where I hear big companies saying, yeah, we are on 100% renewable energy, especially tech companies, or we're giving 1% of our profits for a good cause. This is not enough. We have a huge crisis. Everybody should give 100% of their money, resources, whatever, to solving that crisis. And that's so whenever I hear a sustainability officer from a big company saying that they're also going to be carbon neutral by 2050, then I just feel like, come on, this is not good. You need to do more. You could do so much more. And there are also so many people, rich people on this planet, who have billions of dollars lying around, and who could be doing much more to actually solve this problem. So that's why we at Ecosia, we want to get away with this word, sustainability. I hate it. We need to go remove this word and really think about regeneration. And that is a different mindset. What people currently teaching us sustainability, where everybody's saying, yes, we have to reduce our carbon footprint to get to climate neutral, and then we're all happy. No, this is not what we need. We need everybody to give 100% of their energy to fix this problem and really to regenerate. So we're still in a world where we're destroying our planet, we're destroying our resources, we are exploiting people, we're destroying our biodiversity, and we can't keep doing that anymore. We need to turn this around, and I hope that this decade will finally be the decade where we're actually turning this around, where humans are actually having a positive impact on the planet. But this will only happen if people like you actually demand it. And I think as hopefully potential software engineers, you maybe have a leverage with your potential future employer, and you say, I don't want to work at a company that doesn't do really anything positive for the climate. Or, you could demand really positive action from the companies that you're working on. Or I know many companies who are actually looking for talented software engineers who are working in this space. So my purpose, of course, is that you all apply at Ecosia, but then if you don't want to do that, there are a lot of other good companies who are dealing with that problem, who need smart people. I really hope you consider working for some of them. So what we really need at the moment is basically almost a revolution, or at least a reformation of our current destructive system into a regenerative system where we really start making things better. And we at Ecosia, we basically want to be at the forefront of that. Of course, it should be a peaceful revolution, we want to lead the way and actually show how things can be done. And our advantage is that we're one of the few companies that actually can compete with the international big tech companies. And the good thing is whatever we do actually puts a lot of pressure on the other big companies. So, of course, big companies like Google are watching us very closely. So if we do something, then hopefully at some point the others have to copy it as well. And I wanted to give you a little bit of inspiration. So if you're looking to solve this problem of climate change, what kind of areas could you actually work in? And there's a great project called Project Drawdown. And they basically list the top 100 initiatives that we could do as a global society to actually solve the climate crisis. And of course, building more renewable energy is there. There's electric cars is also there. Like there's some things that are technology, but if you look at the list, actually 12 out of the top 20 things are not really technology. They are just how we basically produce food and how we use our land. So the especially when people talk about solving climate change, there are a lot of people who say, yeah, we just need to build electric cars and then maybe a fusion power generator, or I don't know, just we'll solve the whole thing with technology. Especially there are a lot of people who are the tech billionaires, so Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and so on. Their mindset is we'll just solve all the problems with technology. I think this is not going to work because the solutions are not in the area of technology. Of course, a little bit, but only half of it. And there are many, many other areas that actually need attention as well. And this is something that is currently almost completely overlooked by smart people. So those areas, I mean, who of you has the dream to ever work in silvopasture? I don't know. Has anybody ever heard about that? But it's on the top 9 things that we could be doing to solve climate change. Electric cars is, I can't really see it, but it's, I think, not even in the top 20 list in terms of potential. So I really recommend watch this TED Talk, look at what kind of things we could be doing, and then perhaps find interesting things that you could support. And I just wanted to highlight a few things that we're doing at Ecosia as well, so maybe this gives you a little bit of inspiration. So one of the things, I think the main thing, of course, that we're doing is that we're giving all of our profits basically to planting trees. And 145 million trees is a lot. We had a big impact on the planet already. We have tens of thousands of people who are benefiting from those trees. And this is something that every company could be doing. Why should only we do that? Every big Apple could be doing that. Apple could use all of their profits for tree planting. That would be awesome. So this is definitely using the profits that we're generating in our current systems and financing people who are currently still disadvantaged by the system that we have, by the economic system. A second thing that we're doing, and I think this is more relevant now than it has ever been, we are generating all of the electricity that we need for powering our search engine with our own renewable energy plants. And actually, we're not only generating 100% of the electricity, but we're producing way more electricity than we actually need. And of course, with the Ukraine crisis, this is becoming even more important now. And we just, I think, yesterday made an announcement that we're going to invest another 20 million into renewable energy, because this is so important, not only for the climate, but also for becoming independent from the fossil fuel countries and companies that still run our planet. So we really need to invest a lot into getting independent of those people and those countries. So this is another thing that every company could be doing. There are a lot of companies that make a lot of profits. They could put all their money into renewable energy. No problem with that. And I hope that others will actually do more of that as well. Then one other example, I think you saw it in the list. Food is just super important. What we eat is super important. And at Ecosia, we're actually producing all of the food that we're eating in our office. We're producing at a farm that is only, I think, 20 minutes away from Berlin. And then this food is not only organic, but it's actually regenerative agriculture, which means it's actually improving the soil. It's making the whole ecosystem stronger. And that's the kind of food that we eat, which means that we actually have a positive impact on the planet. We don't have a negative impact on the planet by eating the food in our office, but actually a positive one. And by the way, this is also more tasty and also more healthy. So this is also one thing that I think many companies, especially if I see companies still offering meat, for example, in their canteens, for me that doesn't make sense. And also a lot of food is still not even organic. So those are things that I think need to change. And we need more companies doing something like that. Then last thing that we're also doing at Ecosia, I think you saw it in the video, there are a few search terms when you type in that you want to buy, I don't know, a jacket, for example. Then there are a few websites that we are highlighting at the moment to tell you which are good websites, and basically then also which are bad companies, bad websites. And we're investing more and more into helping people to basically make green decisions. So when they want to, let's say you want to buy a product, then already now we highlight which is a more sustainable one and which is maybe a product that you rather shouldn't buy because it's very bad for the planet. So this is something that we are investing in. Actually, I think we're investing more into this than Google is doing, for example. And I think this is also technology that can just help people make a lot better decisions in the future. One more thing that actually we've also done, I think is this even English? I don't know. But that was a campaign that we did, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And what my company basically did was, there was a big coal mine in Germany. And this coal mine, they wanted to expand their production. And their plan was to cut down an old forest in Germany, one of the last remaining ancient forests, actually. And yeah, there were a lot of organizations protesting against this, but they just didn't want to stop. So we actually made an offer to actually buy this forest. They didn't accept the offer, but what happened when we made this offer was actually that we got a lot of attention from media around the world. So basically all the big news outlets basically said that, haha, we are trying to buy away the forest from this energy company and basically blocking this company by doing that. And in the end, so this forest wasn't cut down. Germany decided to exit coal. So of course, this was not only because of us, but what we as a company realized that we can actually really have an impact on society. So it doesn't only have to be Greenpeace or the typical NGOs that are doing something to protect our planet, but it can even be companies. And companies should be doing that a lot more. And I think it's almost even more credible if companies are doing that. So those are also things that yeah, you could be doing at your own, if you're deciding to take a new job. It doesn't have to be either or. I think we're still in a world where mostly businesses are destroying our planet and then nonprofits are trying to fix it. But we actually have to combine this, where you actually have businesses that have a positive impact on the planet, and only that I think can really work. And this is one example of how this can actually be done. I think that's actually it already from my side. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what we are doing. Of course, we're looking for skilled software engineers. That's of course, my main reason why I'm here. If you're interested in working in tech and actually having a good impact on our planet and doing something meaningful, then we're offering jobs at Ecosia as well. I'm also a mentor for a bootcamp that if you don't have the skills yet to actually start your tech job, then they basically help you to learn all the skills, and might it just be to write the right CV or learn a few skills that you still need to be employable, basically. Yeah, so this is just a little bit of an overview what your future employer could be doing, and I hope that you in your future career will make this topic a priority. So we need to solve climate change and we need young people to do it. You will be the ones that are suffering from this. The older generation will be dead by then, but I just really hope that more and more people care about this and actually take action. Thank you very much. I think we left space for some questions, right? So.
Thank you so much, Christian. This was an amazing talk. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi. I would like to know what's your opinion about permaculture? Is it a good? Is it bad? What do you think about this type of permaculture?
Yeah. So the question around permaculture. So permaculture is basically a principle where you work together with nature instead of destroying nature. So a lot of our agriculture systems at the moment, they are basically built on killing everything and then putting chemicals on top of the soil so that at least something can grow. And this is creating huge problems. I mean, everybody's talking about the climate crisis, but there are other crises going on at the moment that also could be the end of our civilization. And the second most important crisis that we're facing is the biodiversity crisis. So meaning that we are losing more and more species every year. We're actually in the 6th mass extinction event, so meaning that so many species are dying that this is similar to the time when the time of the dinosaurs, when our planet was hit by a meteor. Currently, more species are dying than back then. So we kill species faster than the meteor did a few million years ago. And that's a big problem. And permaculture is trying to solve that because what it's trying to do is basically integrate a lot of species that can actually grow together and make the system stronger. And that's what I meant with, so we call this regenerative agriculture because it's regenerating the systems, and permaculture is just another phrase for it. But I personally think there's a lot of potential. And when I drive through Portugal and I see all those monocultures, and you even still with glyphosate and huge problems, and this doesn't make sense. Like we can't keep doing that, not even for another 10 years. The systems will collapse. You see huge wildfires here in Portugal already. If you have those huge eucalyptus plantations, for example, all of that will just burn away, and the entire system will, might collapse. And already in Spain, so we have a tree planting project in Spain actually. I would say they're a few years ahead of Portugal in terms of destruction, and there are already areas that are completely deserts. I haven't traveled so much in Portugal, but this is really scary. And the whole Iberian island peninsula was completely covered in forest at some point. And now this forest has been cut down. You put eucalyptus plantations, they basically start fires. If you just drop a little bit of a cigarette or something like that, then the entire land can burn. That's a big problem, and we need to address that. And permaculture is one of the ways how we can do that.
Thank you, Christian. Are there any more questions?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I was wondering if you have internships or jobs for people that are not software engineers. We are from environmental engineering, and so I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have an internship. I really recommend you look at our job site. I don't know what we're offering at the moment. So I only highlighted the engineering ones because I thought it's mostly engineers here. Yeah, I can't think of anything that would fit to environmental engineering at the moment, but we have one thing. For example, we have a team at Ecosia that is called our tree planting team, and we even have a chief tree planting officer, which I think is the most amazing title you can have. And they are, for example, evaluating the tree planting projects, making sure that we're planting the right kind of trees and so on. So I'm not sure if this might be closer to what you're doing. But I don't know if they're hiring at the moment, so please have a look at our website.
Hi, I was wondering, how did you go about creating Ecosia? What skills did you need to have? What team was it that initially got the project going?
Yeah. So maybe I can tell a bit more about the story, how it was all started, basically. So I studied business administration in Germany, and during my studies, I already knew I wanted to do something different. I didn't just want to start a job at a big company, but the problem was that I didn't really know what. So I wanted to have a positive impact on the planet, but I didn't really know what. So I decided to actually start traveling, and I traveled around the world for almost 1.5 years, spent half a year living in Nepal, and then another year in Latin America. And during that time, I basically observed many of the problems that we have on our planet. So huge injustices where people are suffering, a lot of poverty, and then also huge destruction of our ecosystems. And like in Latin America, huge parts of rainforests being cut down all the time. And that for me was just, when I always knew that, but when you're actually there and see it with your own eyes, this was really touching. And I wanted to do something about that. At university, I had a little website where I was running a few comparisons of different financial services. and this was working pretty okay, but it was more of a hobby project. But what I realized was that basically all of the revenue that was generating with my website, all of that I had to pay to Google for advertisements. So I thought, well, Google has apparently a very good business model. Why don't I do the same and then actually solve the problem that I want to solve, which is the deforestation of our planet. So I started doing that. I actually developed the first version of Ecosia myself, together with a few people, a few freelancers, a few friends. So basically everybody who couldn't run away fast enough, they had to had to work together with me on this project. And it took actually quite a while to get to a point where this was really a business, generating enough money to actually employ people. So for the first 3 or 4 years, it was more of a hobby project where we couldn't really pay anyone decent salaries. But then it got to this point where, where it was self-sustaining, I would say. And I mean, this was a conscious choice because I wanted to make sure that we don't raise money from investors, because if we had done that, they would then tell us what to do, and I didn't want to do that. But making that choice actually meant that then things went a lot slower. So today, with climate change being more of a topic, it's actually much easier to raise money for a startup. If you want to solve climate change, you can now easily raise money for your startup. That wasn't really possible 13, 14 years ago. So that's why it took pretty long in the beginning. And then, just things kept growing, and now we're 100 people, and that's basically where we stand now.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Hi. So first of all, thank you for your keynote. So I was wondering, I actually have 2 questions. So the first is, why trees? Why did you decide trees and just trees? And also, would it ever be possible that Ecosia started to also cleaning the ocean or cleaning the air with your revenue?
Yeah. We're already cleaning the ocean and cleaning the air, because trees are also doing that.
All right.
But to your question, so I think trees are actually very good at solving a lot of different problems. And if you compare that, because a lot of people say, yes, but we have these big machines that pull CO2 out of the atmosphere. And I don't know, Bill Gates and others are investing into that. But if you look at the cost, 1 ton of CO2 absorbed by those big machines costs around 500 euros. 1 ton of CO2 absorbed with trees costs around 5 euros. So trees are just really, really good, effective machines at solving the problem of having too much CO2 in the atmosphere. And on top of that, you're getting so many things for free. So you're getting the biodiversity benefits. People can earn money while they're planting trees, which is huge for many of the communities where we're working in. And for me, it's just one of the most effective things that we could be doing. Of course, there are also other things, so I'm not saying that removing plastic from the ocean, for example, is very important. But I think tree planting is still one of the most underestimated things, and it just doesn't make sense that we don't do this at scale now. So, of course, we should stop cutting down forests. What we're doing with tree planting is actually we're protecting a lot of forests as well. But the next thing, already we should start spending billions and billions just on tree planting, because it has so many positive effects.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that's it for the time for the questions, sorry. If you have any more questions for Christian, I'm sure he'll be glad to answer you in the showcase area. But right now, we're going to give the prize of this session. Before we do that, please give a big round of applause to Chris one more time.